Okay, welcome to episode 45 of the Georgie and Pattie show. I am Georgie.
And I am Patty.
And today we are going to talk about something super exciting. It's all about how to get paid for doing your life's work. I know I'm super excited about this. I feel like I woke up really excited today, so today's just an exciting day in general. I feel like so. I hope everyone's having an exciting day. So our quote for the day is, "Never underestimate the power of dreams and the influence of the human spirit. We are all the same in this notion. The potential for greatness lives within each of us." And that's Wilma Rudolph. And I think that's so fitting for what we're talking about today, because I really do believe that, this is my intro garbage truck, that we all have greatness inside of us. I think we all have, some, especially for those that are entrepreneurs, that we have this calling or this work that we want to do. And like we were talking about this morning, sometimes you try to put it down and you can't. And it's just like, okay, let's just accept our greatness and get out there and do amazing things in the world. So with that, take it away.
All right. I have the slide deck. All right. Okay. So this is something that Georgie and I have been cooking up for a while here, and I feel Georgie's excitement. It's like between the two of us, we're like, okay, well, what is this all about? What is this all about? What is 45 episodes of the Georgie and Pattie show all about? What is the work that we're doing all about? Who are our people? Who are the people who believe what we believe in? What is it that we want to put out into the world? And when we look over, um, a career, over a long term, the trajectory into the future, it's like, what are we creating? What are we building? What do we want to put out into the world? And and it all led around to this idea. And thank you so much for the client who asked me when they were putting together their assessment, what happens, I don't feel that I am green in all of these areas that I'm putting on my assessment. Is that a problem? And it had me thinking about a client that I'd worked with previously on putting together a message map of what she was doing in her business. And she said to me when she looked at it, she says, "This is aspirational." She said, "This is where I want to go, but I'm not there yet. I'm working towards it." And I think that when we do this, when we put together that bigger vision for our business and what we want to put out there into the world, it has an aspirational quality for it, not just for our clients, because if you're in a business of helping people make change, to transform, to grow, to evolve, if you're a speaker, a trainer, a workshop leader, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, you're helping people become better versions of themselves, helping businesses become better. We're making positive change in the world in this small area that we choose to focus in. And so that aspiration is for your clients. But what we've come to understand is that aspiration is also for you, because the people who believe what we believe are lifelong learners. They're on a mission to become better and better and better at the work that they do. It's ongoing evolution and growth, and and that needs to be incorporated into a map for where you're going. That's exciting. And that's open to change. It has a degree of flexibility to it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And a permission slip. To ignore this if it doesn't fit. I don't know. I want to agree with Georgie's quote that there's greatness inside all of us and that we all have a calling or a mission. And I think that that might be true. And I can't speak for however many billions of people on the planet, um, to check in to see if it's true for them. I know that it's true for me. I know that it's true for Georgie. I know that it's true for our clients. Um, but if this doesn't fit for you, feel free to ignore it. I don't want this to feel like some kind of a pressure, must do, oppressive kind of a thing. If you get an oppressive feeling from this, like, whoa, that's a lot, I don't want to touch it, I don't want to take that on, um, then ignore it. Just, it's not a fit, and that's okay. Um, but if you get a glimmer of excitement from this, it might actually really be for you. So, um, and here's some qualities of the people that we believe that this fits for. This aspirational map of making your difference in the world. Um, if you feel like your work is kind of a calling or a mission, if it's an obsession that you can't let go of. Georgie mentioned that just a couple of minutes ago, this idea that as much as you try to be practical or pragmatic, it keeps coming back. It keeps coming back. And it's just, you're drawn towards it. It's a magnetic kind of attraction. You might feel like you're on a mission from God, that you have to do this thing that is burning inside of you, and that you're meant to do it. There's something about the work that's bigger than you, and it's important, and you have this driving kind of a mission that propels you forward with it. And you might not be able to exactly name it, but it's this interest that keeps cropping up. And when you look backwards over your life and your experiences and where you've gone, it starts to make sense to you, and you can see the thread of this thing. It's always been in the periphery, or sometimes it's been directly what you're working on, but you keep kind of coming back to it, circling around to it. If you have that feeling, this could very well be for you. um, Slides. If you're committed to doing your work over the long term, if you're thinking about the thing that you're doing in the world, and you're going, okay, I'm going to do this until I retire. I'm going to do this until I die. Um, like, you're thinking about the longer term. If the kind of the phrase "doing your life's work" kind of resonates with you, and it doesn't mean that the work has to be exactly what you're doing today, but staying on this path of figuring out what that work is. The work I'm doing today is not anywhere close to the work I was doing 10 years ago, but it's all on the path. I look back and I go, wow, that made sense. I needed to do that at that time, to learn these things, to try this stuff, to experiment here and there. I've done a lot of things that weren't quite a fit. I grew out of them. I moved forward, and I expect that that will happen. Uh, Georgie and I have reiterated our work a good half a dozen times in the last 18 months. That's a pretty quick um, change, evolution, growth, learning. And I expect that 6 months from now, this could entirely look different, because it's part of that evolution. But we're thinking long term, thinking about kind of career long term. And even if this doesn't really feel like a fit for you, if you're launching a business and you're looking at it short term, and you're going, oh, I'm going to try this for 6 months, and if it doesn't work out, I'll do something else. um, you might want to rethink what you're doing, because to succeed in some kind of a business requires a lot of energy and a lot of commitment, and can take longer than you think, and can be more work than you think it is. So um, focusing on the long term can also help you gain some clarity about what it is that you really want to do. If you are a lifelong learner, if you're continuing to grow and evolve and develop and learn, if you love reading, attending workshops, taking classes, doing things to become at better at being a human being, better at being a business person, better at being um, good at your craft, whatever it is. If you're, continuing to learn and develop interest outside of your work, because often that creates the thread as well. We might say, oh, I don't see how this is related to our work. But when you really take a look and kind of peel back some layers and make some connections, you go, oh, of course, there's an element that runs through this. So if you're built that way, if you're continuing to learn and grow, and we believe that if you're here, you are that, because that's what we're all about. We're constantly sharing new stuff with people. So it's like, yeah, it's a lifelong learners. And if it's important that your work is yours, if it's creative or innovative, it's a little bit different. If you dislike being lumped into a group of other people who do what you do, because you're like, I'm not just a coach. I don't want to coach like everybody else. I do more than just this thing that people label me as. If you feel like you have to um, uh, provide additional description and explanation about what you do, because it's so different from what other people do. Um, if you wouldn't be happy running a franchise or running somebody else's program, um, one of the things that really came to mind with this for me is when I started my business. I really loved Michael Port's work. Book Yourself Solid. I thought was a fantastic book. I just completely resonated with it. A lot of the work I did with my clients was based on that work. A lot of the work I do today still springs from that initial kind of influence from Michael Port. And he had this training. You could become a certified Book Yourself Solid coach. And I looked at that several times. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, wow, this could be really cool. All the stuff is already developed for me. The marketing is developed. The intellectual property is developed. All I'd have to do is learn the system and put it out there, and kind of work under someone else's brand. And he had a brilliant question on his sales page. And he said, in determining whether or not this is a good fit for you, it said, you're not interested in developing your own IP and your own workshops and your own stuff. You'd rather just run somebody else's proven system. And I'm like, that's not me. I couldn't see myself just staying constrained within this certain box, because even though I loved his work, I also loved I love Seth Godin. I was looking at the E-Myth. I was looking at a number of different influences, and it's like, yeah, I'm bringing other pieces into this, and I like to create my own trainings and my own stuff, and I'm like, this is not a fit for me. So if you've tried that, or um, been drawn to that and ultimately decided that no, this kind of off the rack thing doesn't fit, I need to do something that's mine. Um, I have a new, different, better way of doing it. When we talked about the Dilts pyramid, and somebody says, oh, I kind of disagree with how those levels are, it's like, that's a clue that you're thinking about this creatively, or in terms of innovation. So this is uh, the people who believe what we believe would agree with these sorts of statements. So this is kind of the unveiling of where we are going next with our Georgie and Pattie venture here, is on this mission to help people get paid for doing their life's work, whatever that thing is that is yours. This is a sweet spot between three things that we've identified. Um, the first one being, in order to do this, is that you have to own your greatness, which is uh, a powerful statement, and it's the kind of thing that can cause you to go for a lot of us who do this kind of work and are drawn to this. We sometimes, especially lifelong learners, we know so much that we know what we don't know, and it can be challenging to step up and say, yeah, I'm an expert at this, I'm really good at this, uh, to recognize the power that we have, and the contribution that we're here to make. So getting clear about that, about owning that greatness, is one of the things that needs to happen. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means exactly and how to do that in a moment. Um, the next piece is that you need to promote your work, that work that you do, that innovative, creative work that's a little bit different from what everyone else is offering, is you need to put it out into the world. Also, something that causes a lot of us to kind of go, a lot of our clients say, "Oh, I don't like self-promotion." There's a feeling of discomfort in there, but it's a requirement. If you want to get paid to do your life's work, you have to put it out there, um, and you have to find your people. Find the people who believe what you believe in, um, but you need to find the people who are going to buy from you, the people who will partner and support you, the people who will follow you. It's You have people, and part of this is finding them. So when you look at the intersections here, um, when you get to this place of owning your greatness and you're promoting your work, that becomes your legacy, where you go, okay, this is my thing. I'm good at it. I'm putting it out there. I'm developing this work, and this is the contribution that I am making. This is my life's work. This is a body of work that I'm creating, and I am ultimately leaving behind. Um, kind of a big time aspirational thing to be thinking about that. In between finding your people and promoting your work is the impact that you have. This is the difference that you make, and this is where money comes from. You make your impact on people when they get in touch with your work. You build that work for them. In a way, it's for you and it's for them. And your work, when you put it out there, and we'll talk about this in a moment, is like the work that you might consider to be your marketing. It is also helpful. It's educational. It's inspirational. Uh, it's designed to help people, and it can create an impact even if you never actually talk to that person or you never make any money from them. But this is where the money comes from as well, is when you're doing your work with people. They're buying something from you, and that's where you get paid. And then finally, we talked about this a few times on the show, over the last few weeks, of this, being part of the island of misfit toys, and this idea of belonging, and belonging without necessarily fitting in. And this comes at the intersection of getting clear about who you are and what you have to offer, and standing solid in that, and finding the people who believe what you believe, and who are on the same kind of path. We had this kind of a metaphor image of, it's like you're finding the people who are climbing the same mountain, and you're all climbing the mountain together, and everybody has got their candle, their light that they're holding up, and it's like your people. They're, some of them are ahead of you, some of them are beside you, some of them are behind you. You're shining your light, they're shining your light. You're all on the same journey together, and you're all on that same mountain. Like, there is that togetherness, belonging. We're all in this together. We all believe what, you know these are the people who believe what I believe. They're on the same journey as me, and there are other mountains out there with other people on them. And it's like, they're not your mountains, right? And that's, if you've tried to be on one of those other mountains, you might have this sense of, I don't belong, I don't fit in, this doesn't feel right. But when you get these two things right, then you create this sense of belonging. um, and as you can see, if you don't do these things, that's where the problems occur. If you're not willing to kind of step into this place where it's like, wow, I'm really good at this stuff, this is what I'm going to pursue, um, where you believe in yourself, um, you won't be able to belong or find your people, because you're not showing up as who you really are. This one is about authenticity and being you, and that's what gives you this sense of belonging, and finding your right people. And if you've been in this place where you've been kind of holding back, you may find yourself surrounded by people that you don't feel like you belong there. Um, and if you don't find your people, you might be doing some great work on your own that nobody knows about, and you're not making money, and you're not making that impact, right? Like, you might be creating stuff, but it's not getting out there. Ask me how I know about what that's like. Um, and if you're not promoting your work, you might have a lot of people around you. You might have a big network. You might even have a big audience. But if you're not putting your work forward, um, once again, I mean, uh, you're not doing your work, for one thing, and you're also not creating that impact. You're not making money. Like, once again, it's like, it's people on the work. That's where the money comes from. So this is the big picture of where we are going, and the kinds of people that we're um, wanting to surround ourselves with. And to break this down a little bit more, we've identified 10 kind of pieces of how you get there, what you need to do in order to get there. And like Simon Sinek will say, it's this idea of your owning your greatness starts with figuring out your purpose, your why. This is that mission or calling. It's like, why are you here? Getting clear about that, articulating that. Um, feeling it in your bones. A lot of people have this kind of idea about what that might be. And there's a difference between kind of sort of seeing it and really feeling it. Uh, but when you're clear about this is what propels you forward. And you get in touch with that calling, and it creates a lot of energy. Um, then there's, your skills, your talent, your experience, your education, your wisdom. It's like this is these are kind of the tools we talked a while back about, you being the guide and having your magic tools in your bag. It's like that. This is that's your bag of magic tricks. These are your magic wands or your potions, whatever you want to call them. But this is the value that you bring to the table. And for a lot of us, when we get to the certain age, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of skill, talent, experience, education, wisdom that we're bringing along with us. And it's like that's part of what makes you awesome. And getting clear about that and figuring out what it is, writing it down, um, and finding, discovering your strengths, looking into your personality. What are you naturally good at? What do you love doing? Um, and getting some clarity around that. Um, there's your values, your beliefs, your opinions. This is about taking a stand. This is like planting your flag in the ground and saying, this is what I'm about. This is what I believe in. This is what I think. This is the message that I'm wanting to share with the world. This is what's important to me. Um, and this is part of, this is part of the contribution that I am here to make. It's based on these things. This is the kind of world I want to live in. And then there's self leadership. And this is, finding and tapping into your inner superhero. This is about developing the confidence. It's about doing the work. Uh, it's overcoming or facing your fears, or however you want to put it. Resistance, procrastination, finding inspiration and motivation, and getting yourself to do the stuff that needs to be done. Um, leading yourself first before you can lead others. And when you pull these things together, when you have all of these things, you're in a place where you can own your greatness. And when, um, remember a few days ago, we shared Tad Hargrave's vibe thing. When we talk about this is not posturing. This is that place of composure. Because along with this, it's like, okay, I'm really good at this, and I'm not so good at this other thing. It's like, here's the line between this is what I'm here to do, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm awesome at, and these other things are not for me. So it's just a place of composure. You're not puffing yourself up, you're not turning yourself into something that you're not. This is about just being really, it sounds grandiose, but it's actually very realistic and very grounded. It's kind of like your own personal truth. Okay, so that's our first bubble there. The next one is talking about finding promoting your work rather, and this is putting those thoughts and beliefs and opinions, your expertise, your skills, perspective, all of that. It's like putting that into the world. So when we think about content marketing, is kind of the buzzword for this. This is short form kind of content. This is what you post on social media. This is creating videos. It might be a podcast. It might be a show. It might be writing articles, publishing blog posts, getting published in magazines, doing even like kind of short presentations, that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like the short form content, lots of it on a regular basis, kind of a thing. Then there is kind of the bigger piece of content. This is about writing your book, giving your TED talk, or a keynote presentation that you spent a lot of time on, where you've really um, put together your work. And this is the kind of um, what I'm talking about here in terms of promoting your work. This is not about shortcut stuff. This is about, when you talk about doing a TED speech or something like that. It's like, this is the thing that you are here to speak about. Like, this is the speech of a lifetime. The book is a compilation of your wisdom to date. It's not something you do in 5 days in order to get on some bestseller list or something like that. This is about, it's about your actual it's about your actual work. It's meaningful to you. Um, this represents some effort. That's the reason I chose the word work for this, is that there is some work involved in getting your work into the world. Um, so that kind of a book or presentation. And it's also about your services and your products. And once again, these things um, are specific to you. So this might be your one-on-one coaching services. It could be consulting. It could be courses that you teach or workshops that you lead. It could be products that you create, self-paced programs, things that you do for money is basically what this circle is about. Um, and that's where the money piece of this all um, comes to. Um, And then the third bubble here is about finding your people, beginning with your clients. Clients are where your money comes from. And this is finding the people who are going to buy from you, who are going to pay you. Uh, so being able to find them, to be able to communicate with them, to sell your products and services to them. This is where that intersection happens. This is, sales and marketing. It's your client piece. Then there's your partners. This is what I was talking about earlier about, if you look at yourself and your business as a jigsaw puzzle piece, and that you're designed to, you're here to fit your role in the jigsaw puzzle, and your partners are the people that you can connect on the edges with. And it might be like a partner, like the way Georgie and I work together. It's like, I've got my piece of the jigsaw puzzle and Georgie's got hers, and together we have synergy. We are creating something that's bigger than either of our two puzzle pieces alone can do. And we're also looking at this as like, okay, where are our other edges? Who are the other partners that we can bring in? Not every partnership has to be um, kind of committed to working together over a longer term. These can be promotional partners. They can be networking colleagues that you refer to. Um, that kind of relationship. And once again, like, this is all of this is about quality, right? This is the difference between doing any kind of work and doing your life's work, is that it's about quality, and you want to have the right fit in the jigsaw puzzle pieces for this, right? So you're looking for partners that have similar values, that believe what you believe, that are climbing up the same mountain, but hold their light in a different place of the path. Um, and then community. And I chose the word community in terms of what that looks like. It could be like an actual community. It could be a Facebook group, or a networking group that you run, or a community support group, kind of a place. This could be your audience. This could be, your list. Um, but the larger group of people, and the community includes your clients and your partners, but also beyond that, the people who are just kind of lurking and listening in, the people who are reading your book, watching your videos, reading your articles. You might never meet them. The people on your email list that might never reply to you, might never buy from you, but they're part of that larger community of people who believe what you believe. And they could be the people who are sharing your work with others, and it could be the people that you're making an impact on. But these are when you look at your people, those are the people where you feel like you belong. So when we pull this whole thing together, we end up with a map of what it looks like, what you need in order to get paid to do your work in the world. Um, it's all of these things. If you had all of these things, then you'd be well positioned to do that. Um, and what we discovered when we um, put this together is we looked at the three biggest problems, issues, concerns that we collectively get from our clients, our prospective clients, and they fall into three categories, like three basic questions, trouble spots. Uh, the first one being about, how do I talk about my work so that people get it? I don't know how to explain what I do. I have trouble with networking introductions. I have trouble writing copy. I have trouble having sales conversations. I get tripped up for words. What do I write on my website? What do I write in my ads? What do I make my articles about? Like all of this kind of question about how do I explain what I do? How do I get my work out in the world? How do I make sense of it? How do I organize it? Um, that is especially when it's your life's work, it tends to accumulate. You've got lots of it, multiple modalities, multiple skills, multiple talents, a wealth of education and experience. How do you pull that all together into a 30-second soundbite that makes sense? So how do I talk about it? How do I explain it? It's a big problem. People struggle for the words. The other thing that comes up is, how do I get the confidence to put myself out there? There's there's some fears that come up. Our work is personal. When we do this kind of work and it's innovative and it's creative, it means it's different. When we take a stand, it means that people are going to disagree with us. It's inevitable. We're standing for something that other people don't stand for. If you're kind of deviating from what's done in your community of practice that you're involved in, that can be kind of a scary thing to say, you know what, I think that it's okay to call yourself a coach and provide education and cheerleading and feedback and advice. I mean, the IGCF is going to disagree with you, right? So there's this confidence to put out your own ideas and your own work. Um, that's a big thing. A lot of people say, I don't like self-promotion. I don't want to put myself out there. That's another issue that comes up. And the third one is, how do I make money at this? Like this is my passion, it's my calling, this is my life's work, this is what I want to do. But how do I get clients? How do I make money at this? How do I get paid to do this work when there is no job for this? That people don't hire people like me to do the kind of work that I do. So how do I make money at this? This is something that I faced many years ago in a wonderful professional development course that I went on. And the facilitator was reviewing my results for all my personality tests and how I interacted in teams and stuff like that. And he says, Pattie, I've got some really bad news for you. He basically told me I was unemployable. He says, companies really need what you have to offer, but they don't like hiring people like you. You'll rock the boat too much. You'll make too much waves. You'll want to change things. You'll want to fix things. You'll name elephants that are in the room, and people won't enjoy working with you. And he says it really sucks because you have a lot. You have a lot to contribute, but you're not going to fit into a corporation. And it's something that I knew all along. I'm built for self-employment and doing my own thing. It's just like that's the reality. And I think for a lot of people, they're in that kind of place. So we have to shave off way too many edges to take a regular job. So the question becomes, how do I make money at this? And what we see is that the questions here is kind of like a bit of a paradox, but they are both asked and answered within this little model that we put together. Um, so with that, do we have comments? Do we have questions? Does my partner want to say something?
I'm just so excited about this, as you know. Because I think, I love the evolution of it because I like aspirational things. And I think this really gives a nice big picture. It creates this long-term plan because we just, we go through this and it's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then the more I learn about myself, and then the challenges arise and things like that, it's like, my light's dimming a little bit. How do I bring it back? How am I continually standing in that place of owning my greatness? Like say from that space of composure, like in Tad's chart, right? This isn't about arrogance and posturing. It really is, you know, when you meet people and they're just so solid and grounded and composed, like I think he's picked the perfect word there with composure. It's there's a belief in themselves that what it does, I think it allows other people to believe in themselves. You know, it's so great. And then like we talked about yesterday with Ryan Holiday's work, right? It's about creating this work that lasts. It's about building a body of work that's really, really valuable, that benefits people, not just for today or not just for a launch, but it's long-term benefits. So you really care about the work you're creating. And then the people, right? It's about surrounding yourself with these like-minded people in the form of clients, community, and the people the partners that you work with, because if we're helping our clients get their work out into the world, total ripple effect. And then it's like, oh, you need this, we have this partner over here, even more ripple effects where more and more people are able to connect together, share their greatness, and do more to impact the world. So it's, for me, it's so incredibly exciting. Yeah, I'm loving it. Let's see, I'm going to check on we've got some comments in our chat. We've got my dog.
It's exciting. It's also daunting. It's like, you know, I'll be the one to say that. It's like when we come up with this, I'm like, oh.
It's so great.
And that's why we work together. This is why we work together, right? Georgie's like, that's great, that's awesome. I'm like,
yeah, it's so funny because I was thinking about this morning too, just with some different projects this we've got going on and things, and I'm like, man, I really actually love uncertainty. I love not knowing. I love not what's coming next. And I think this comes from that space of I am really grounded in my purpose and my values and what I'm here for. So these other pieces are like little details, you know, and I'm like, this is so exciting. And I really thrive on the unknown, the uncertainty, the adventure of it all. That's the experience of climbing this mountain and being like, oh, here's a river we've got to cross. Oh, here's a boulder we've got to get over. There's a tree that's fallen down. Okay, I know we'll get through it. And then it's finding those people who get excited about the journey, you know. And I think it's like I said, we have this great partnership because there's the practical side, there's like, okay, and then I'm like, yeah, woohoo, storms are coming, can't wait, you know. And it's really it's exciting. So I'm really happy about this space that we're in, because I think what it does too is it really does start to attract the people who believe what we believe. We've found our flag, we're putting our stake in the ground, and it's like, who wants to come on this journey with us, you know, because it's going to be fun and it's going to be awesome. And for the entrepreneurs and the business people that work with us, you know, the fact that we get to play some small part in helping people get their life's work into the world and helping people create the life that they want and do amazing things, not only for themselves, but the effect of that is so ridiculously exciting for me. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, bring it on. Who wants to play in this sandbox? Because I got the shovels, I got the buckets, like, I'm ready. So, okay, on Facebook here. The light bulb just went off as to why I fear getting out there. Ooh. We like light bulbs.
We do like light bulbs.
Let's see, we've got some chat comments as well. This all makes so much sense to me. Thank you so much. A map with 3 interconnected paw prints.
I saw paw prints in it too. I love it that they're paw prints.
So good. Amazing what you figured out and how well you've been able to describe it all. Misfit Islander here really appreciates it. Oh, that's so nice.
I think that those of us who identify as creative or innovative do feel like misfits because we see something that's outside the status quo and we're just not willing to accept it.
Yeah.
Um, it's like it could be better. It's missing this thing, right? Um, and and other people don't see it. Like they don't see what we see. Like we have an imagination. We see things before they appear. Like that's the thing about creativity. It's making something out of nothing. It's taking something inside here and bringing it into the world, or even like getting it from somewhere out there, right, and bringing it into the world. And it can really make you feel like a misfit because you're not. It's not. It's not enough to keep doing it this way because we've always done it this way. You
Ah,
know, and the most and you know look around. Most of the world seems to be really content to not have things changed and to have it predictable and to have it routine and just to stick with what works. To the point where some people just want to drive us backwards because they don't want any change or innovation at all, no evolution. And so, yeah, there's a lot of us, and we belong together, but we don't fit in necessarily with each other, which is kind of cool too. We've all got our individual mountains and our perspectives, and I think that's awesome.
that's so awesome. I like this comment too. Such a great use of your INT penis, Patty K. Such
It
a genius
absolutely is.
you are. Yes, she is a genius. And what a great partner you have in Georgie. Love you two as individuals and as joined puzzle pieces. I like our joined puzzle pieces too. What's my type? I have no idea. Um,
I've, I'm going. I kind of have you labeled as ENFP. Um,
that's what I am then.
you could go do the test. I'm pretty sure that's where you're gonna fall.
That's it, you know. Um,
We're both NPs. I know that part for sure.
uh, Brody's play toys, the uncertainties. Wish I could see uncertainties as fun and things to play with. Maybe I can. You can. I really believe anyone can. And I think because underneath that is this really solid knowing that I know I'm here. I'm really really solid in that. And I also hold some beliefs that really work for me, right? I believe that everything will work out. I believe there is a solution to every problem. So, because I'm solid in that foundation, I believe I will always be okay, no matter what. I will always be okay. So, when I'm solid in those pieces, it doesn't mean that stuff comes at me and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. There are times where I'm like taken out at the knees and I'm like, oh my goodness. But what allows me to get back up, I think, are those beliefs. And then with things in my business, this is fun, you know? And I mean, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen, in this thing? We go live and I don't know what to say. That's probably not going to happen. Say something stupid, most likely. Something dumb is going to come out of my mouth, probably for sure. I'm probably going to say something I wish I could take back, which means then I'll just go take it back at some point. But those things it's okay to me. So when I look at what is sort of the risk factors of particular things in my business, as long as I know I show up to do the least harm possible to people. My goal is to create these environments, like I say, to where people feel like they matter. If I do that piece, I'm pretty much okay with whatever else comes in. I make mistakes all the time. I'm gonna make more for sure. Um, but it's what can I learn from those things, and how can I, you know, keep making forward. But I think when you, it's part of that own your greatness piece, when you have some pretty solid foundation there, you're able to kind of withstand some of the storms that come your way a little bit easier and adapt to the uncertainties, so that you're able to kind of step into opportunities that show up without that fear kind of paralyzing you and being like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I'm good enough for this, all of those pieces. um, when I think of this other little adventure I'm into right now, like I have moments where I'm like, I haven't really worked with these kind of people in a long time. What if they think, and I'm like, doesn't matter actually, because this is what I know. And my people will be, the people that believe what I believe, they're going to be attracted over here. And if they think I'm just a crazy whack job, then they're going to go somewhere else. And that's totally okay. Because I want people to do what they need to do to get to where they need to go with the people who are going to be the best people to help them get there. That's the real objective. Sometimes that will be me and sometimes that will be someone else. And I'm super okay with that. I think we need that. That's what makes the whole world work, right? It's not about being in competition with people. It's about making sure people get what they need from who can best help them to get where they are. And I think all of those kind of combined pieces help to deal with the uncertainties of life. Because honestly, Patty and I were talking about this before, we like to think that we have security and stability and certainty. And the reality is we actually don't. Things can change at any given moment. So
I think too that there's something to be said for active experimentation and experience. It's we had that conversation the other day about where we feel 100% rock solid in what we do, right? And it's that only comes from doing it. Like this message map that I displayed today, the Venn diagram and all the bubbles and stuff like that. It's like that's part of that is what I do. That's my special INTP skill. It's around the messaging. It's figuring out, making sense of shit. I'm born to make sense of shit, to organize it, and to see the relationships and the patterns. It's like that's what I'm here to do. I'm directing it in this way because this is where I'm fascinated. But like I don't know anybody who does that as well as I do. And I don't say that in a puffed up way. It's just I don't know anybody who does that. I'm sure there are people who do it better than I do. I don't know them. And I feel confident when I'm in that place of working with that stuff. I feel less confident once I start moving out onto the periphery of what that means. I'm an okay writer. Like I'm an adequate writer. I'm not a bad writer, but I am not a great writer. It's like I can name lots of people who write better than I do, right? So it's like you find your edges. But I found those edges by doing a lot of writing and trying to convince myself that I should be a writer when I'm a diagrammer. I'm great at the table of contents, but I'm not a detail-oriented person, and writing requires a lot of details, right? So it's like you find that, but I didn't know that. 10 years ago, I had no idea that this would be what I was doing. Now I can see it. I can see it obvious when I was developing computer programs, computer software. It was all about this kind of stuff. I had a diagram and database tables all took up an entire wall in my office. It's like that's what I did then, and this is what I'm doing now. It's the same thing. It's just in a different domain. But I wouldn't have gotten here if I hadn't done all of the stuff that wasn't a good fit. Like it's like you had to try on a lot of clothes before you find the ones that fit. At least you do if you're me.
Me too. And I think that's where it comes. It is through the doing. It's through the experiences. It's through the mistakes. It's through the things that didn't work out. You're like, oh, I thought I was going to love that. I actually really hate it, And then it's finding where, like you said, the things that you're really good at. And then when you need other things, it's what are the other puzzle pieces I can bring in, where I don't have to do the things that I'm not good at and I really can't stand doing anyway. Who can help me to bring this thing to life? And it may be someone that you partner with, like Patty and I do, or it may be just like say these kind of external arm's length kind of people that you bring in to help you.
I think it's a paradox in this way. It's like you want to figure this stuff out, and you don't want to hold on to it too tightly. It's like you take your best guess at it, you put it out there, you try it, you get feedback, then you make changes. And we see so many people locked into things too early. And this is the mission that we go on and on and on about in terms of business. Don't lock into your branding, don't lock into your business name, don't lock into the services you offer, don't lock into that stuff. And when you invest a lot of money to get that stuff created for your business, you run into this place where it's like, man, it's like looking at your closet and going, whoa, there's a whole lot of expensive clothes in there that I don't want to wear. And it's like, what do you do? Like, so like that's kind of the reality. It's like you don't want to lock onto stuff too soon. And ask me in my credit card how I know about this. Like I've done it too, because we want to get it right. Like, this is a hesitation too. We want to get it right. And the thing is, when you're creative and innovative, when you're continually learning, growing, and evolving, the work you do today is not nearly as good as the work you're going to do tomorrow. That's the fact. That's life. It's like you have to go forward with it anyhow, so that you can create that better work in the future. So it's an interesting place to be, and it's full of uncertainty.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
it's like finding both of those places. It's like where you can feel composed and confident, and also learning and uncertain. Both of those things together.
Exactly. So back to the and. There's always an and.
So many ends.
So many ands in this journey. And that's where I think that's why I'm such a firm believer too, like saying that in that personal foundation. Because when you've got your personal stuff set up, like your values, your beliefs, your purpose, your why, all those kinds of pieces, then when you're looking for your other puzzle pieces, those become the real markers that you're looking for. Oftentimes, like if I'm thinking about the partnerships I've created, the ones that have been great and the ones that have been not so great, it's usually because there was either a real alignment on that space of beliefs and values, or a disalignment, if that's even a word. Unalignment, disalignment, non-alignment, whatever. But those things matter more than the other things, right? Then you can go into, okay, like for me, I know I need someone who's pretty good at some kind of little bit of structure, or give me an outline. With an outline, I'm good. I can follow a plan, I can put in pieces, but I do quite enjoy someone else to kind of give me the box that I can then start to put things in. So
And that's the work I live to do. It's like I love it when people go like, okay, I got this big mass of stuff. How do I make sense of this? Like, what's the outline? What's the strategy? How do all of these pieces fit together? Boxes and arrows.
yeah.
And we have a comment in the chat about having not done Myers-Briggs, don't know what we're talking about when we go blah, blah, blah letters. Myers-Briggs personality tests and things like that in general are one of my weird little obsessions. Myers-Briggs changed my life, discovering what I was because I'm a misfit, right? So it was totally awesome. If you go to a site called 16 Personality, I think it's 16personalities.com, they have a free test. That's not the official Myers-Briggs test, but it's a great site full of all kinds of information. You can go and do your test and you can find out what you are, and it's awesome. Like when we look at that, own your greatness, figure out your strengths and your talents and your skills and stuff like that, doing personality tests can be really helpful. And it's not about putting you into a box, and if you don't like your results or you don't like what you get from it, just ignore it. I cannot stand DISC. Lots of people swear by DISC. I hate DISC because I don't get results that are meaningful to me. So find a test, if it's useful, like, we talk about Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies stuff, do Strengths Finder, that kind of, like, it can be really, really helpful to get this information fed back to you. You get information from these things that you might not get otherwise. And it's just, you look at it, it's a little bit like trying on clothes. It's like, you like it and it fits or you don't. And I'd say that a personality test. So I'd encourage you to do the 16 personalities and see if you get something where you go, wow, that's me. That is me. Wow, other people are not like me. That was, it's the other part of it.
And they can be fun, right? It's kind of interesting sometimes, especially when they're accurate. You're like, oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So cool. So cool. Okay, I'm just gonna. Yeah, it's helpful and gives you clues. Use it, otherwise ditch it. Exactly. Exactly.
People vary. It's just, we are all, we're all unique. This is what I do in my brain sometimes. It's like, I'm like, wow, I am the only person on the planet living this particular life, seeing things in the way I see it. Like even as small as my Facebook feed doesn't look like anybody else's Facebook feed. How crazy is that, right? Like what I am seeing right now, I am the only person on the planet who is seeing what I see right now. Mind blowing when you think about it.
Isn't it so cool? And what a great perspective to take. And I think it's a great perspective to move you into curiosity, because then when you're with other people, it's like they are the only person seeing what they're seeing in this way on the planet. I'm super curious. I want to know what that's like. Like, share with me, please. Ask questions. It becomes fun, right? It's a little shift in perspective can make things a lot easier. That's for certain. So, yeah. Well, I was very excited about the show. I'm happy to see our map. Happy to see what we're doing. So excited about it. I'm on board. I like it.
If anybody is watching this or here and you've seen our previous map or maps, I think we've had a couple of them now. This one is a pretty big departure. This is this is us going, all right. This is the surrender thing. It's like, this is what it is. It's big. It's big.
What we're going into. Exactly. So awesome. So cool. So yeah. So for those that want to play along, let us know, because we love having more like-minded people in our sandbox. That's for sure. So tomorrow on our show, we have Robin Unwin from Unwin Media, and she's a documentary filmmaker and person who helps people sort of create their own low-cost kind of setting your video stuff up at home, and then how to increase your confidence on video. And so I think in today's world where we're doing lots more virtual stuff, lots of things on Zoom, if you are feeling less than confident with doing your video, doing a Facebook Live, and you want to move into that space and you feel like, I'd be really good at that, but there's something holding you back and you're curious about, maybe there's a few easy little tips to be able to increase that confidence. She's going to be on our show tomorrow. But she's a really amazing human, and there's lots of great things about her other than just what she do, but what she does in the world. But her life's work is being able to help people share and communicate their message and their voice through the medium of video. So she'll be with us tomorrow to talk about that, share some of that stuff. And then, of course, Friday, we have our week in review, what we've been learning, which I feel like this has been a big week.
It's always a big week.
I'm not sure what the little pieces are, but this has been a really big, amazing learning week for sure. Growth week, definitely. So that's what we've got in store for the rest of the week.
And we have a workshop Friday.
Yes. I'm like, there's something else we're doing on Friday too. It's not just the show. And yes, we have our workshop on Friday. So if you or you know anyone who is a coach, consultant, trainer, whatever, someone who has their life's work that they would like to get out into the world and make a living doing so, then you might want to join us on Friday for the full day experience.
Yeah, well, there'll be more insight and details on this map that we've got. And
Yeah, and that's it. That's Wednesday.
And that's Wednesday. Enjoy the
Yes,
rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you here tomorrow. Same bat time.
same bat channel.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.